Welcome back, folks, to the Lighthead Online Video Show. This episode of the show is sponsored by Keystone Technologies. Go to KEYSTONETECH.com. KeystoneTech.com. What's up, Greg?
Hey, we do a few other things other than sell light bulbs all day and record podcasts for Lighthead and get a grip on lighting and all that. We also do some things for IES, including recently we did we were taking part of their annual conference and doing a virtual day. And we're not here necessarily to promote that, but to give a recap on it because we had some awesome discussions.
Not a bad idea. No, I really,
Yeah.
we really put we really put a lot of work into that. And, and when I say we, I'm talking about NAILD, the board, the NAILD office. Bree, Scott, the producer, did some of his best work I've seen. And he does good stuff. Like Scott's always getting complimented for the quality of the production with Get a Grip on Lighting. And I think what he did for IES was his best stuff. And then all the panelists were great too, Greg. So I think it's worth recapping for the Lighthead audience.
Yeah, just to give you guys kind of paint the picture of how these worked is, we looked at the idea of doing PowerPoints on all these different topics and having a speaker and then having discussion after. We said, all people really care about is having a discussion the whole time so we can get to the bottom of it and figure it out. So we did 6 panel discussions. One was a recap of the 5, in-depth recap. But really what we want to cover is the 5 that we talked about today.
That's the right move. Yep.
And had a lot of experts on every panel. I don't know if we necessarily need to say who was on it, but just know that they're the right people for these topics. Sure. And you can probably find out more. But just want to say, what do we take out of it? So let's start off with, we had one on legacy lighting, the future of legacy lighting. It's an interesting term because you use future and legacy in the same sentence. Legacy means old and future means new. And I thought as a whole, it was good to have that discussion because as a lighting distributor, there are some people that only do LED and only do LED. Then you're an LED lighting distributor. If you're a lighting distributor, you need to have legacy. You need to have the capability for people still to buy that stuff.
I agree.
Even if you don't think it's the right move, who are you to tell them that they shouldn't have their 400 watt metal halide any longer? You want it? I got it. I'm going to sell it to you. So I thought it was a good discussion. Anything you took unique out of that legacy talk?
So I listened to the whole day. I recorded it, and then but sometimes when you're recording it, you're not listening. You understand what I mean?
Right.
Like there's a different vibe, like, because we're working, right? We're working it. You and I are signaling and whatever, right? So we're not always listening. I really felt like we got a little bit lost in the Title 24 stuff in California. We should have just totally avoided that. But it was a sore spot for Tom Surzak and for Chris Siegel. What's that idea? But what I found out, was hilarious. This is so hilarious. This is going to be the best part. So the guy in my office who does primarily works in the legacy lamp part of the business, he listened to that one, the whole thing, and he enjoyed it. And he said, Mike, he goes, Ontario has already adopted Title 24. The same thing. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, you're scared that it's going to happen. He goes,
already have it.
Yeah. He goes, you've been a halogen light bulb bootlegger for 8 years and you don't even know it.
It's a bootlegger.
And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah. He's like, you're not allowed to sell halogen bars in Ontario, but we've been doing it for years anyway, because it's a stupid regulation that nobody enforces. I mean, there's nobody. Right. First of all, what ministry actually enforces the light bulb regulations?
None.
Which one is it? Second of all, do any of those people at that place, at that government agency that maybe have enforcement powers? Let's say somebody has enforcement powers. Okay? Do they even know what a halogen par 38 is? Like, would they even be able to identify one if I showed it to them? You know what I mean? So it's dumb. We talked to Ellis Yon, talk to Chris Siegel at Satco, talk to anybody that makes a lot of light bulbs, and they'll tell you that just let it ride. They're going to be gone soon enough anyway.
And if somebody wants it, what they've done for years is find loopholes in it. Get rid of the loophole. Have the legacy stuff if you want it. Smart people eventually.
I hate to compliment a controversial politician, but I think the rollback of the regulations was the right thing. It's just laws that are not enforced are stupid.
If they're not law by nature. Right? How can
regulation without enforcement just creates nonsense.
There you go. So there is a future for legacy. As long as people want it, have it. We had a discussion on China and their relationship to the United States. Now you were, and we recently did another podcast with Alice Yan, who's from there, and you dove into all the knowledge you had, and he questioned you where you got all this knowledge from, because you know a lot about China history and the importance of it, but China is obviously crucial to the success of the lighting industry. And we had a good panel discussion on that. What did you take out of it?
I think, can I say something super controversial?
I think you usually don't ask and you just say it, so go for it.
But this one's going to be pretty tight. So a lot of people talk about racism. Okay, they throw that word around, like racism. Okay, but most racism is not like, I don't like those people because of the color of their skin, right? Like it doesn't really, in 2020, it doesn't really work like that. Most racism is like ignorance, and both kinds of ignorance. And I find what the kind of racism that is towards China is an ignorant racism. And like I wrote in all my the China question articles that have been on Lighted that were so controversial a year ago. Oh my God, who could possibly write this? The prophetic now. They are prophetic, dude, my articles. I'm not kidding you.
And the fact that we had Margaret Wong and Ellis Yan on the show, and you asked them all the questions that you talked about in there, they agreed with everything. Nothing you said was wrong.
You know, and when Margaret Wong, when I asked Ellis Yan about the rule of China, a rule of law, and he just like, he looked back like this, and Anthony Corey turns and goes, "Come on, man, you can't ask him that. It's not, you don't answer. No one's going to answer that question." And then Margaret Wong comes out and says, "No, there's a rule of China that you don't understand, Michael." Mm-hmm. And so what occurred to me when I was talking with, and then again with Ellis, we just spoke to him earlier today. What occurred to me was that what we consider corruption in the United States and Canada, what we consider corruption, is not considered to be corrupt by Chinese people.
Right.
There's just different standards of corruption. And to impose our way of thinking on them, to assume that they're never going to surpass the hegemony of the United States, is about as foolishly racist as you can get. And what's interesting about racism, okay, is a lot of people think racism is actually hurts the person who's racist also, right? And so Western racism towards China, ignorance about China's history, is a form of racism. But it's not a racism that hurts China at all. It benefits it.
Sure.
You understand what I mean?
Oh, yeah. So
there you go. There's my takeaway from the China question, is that our racism towards China, or I don't know if that's the right word, if it's bigotry, if that's too heavy. It's almost like an ignorance, a type of ignorance that's based on race, but is really causing America all kinds of problems, man. It really is. Yeah. Anyway, there's my and the lighting business especially.
Yep.
You brought it back.
That was a good discussion we had. Thanks for bringing it back to lighting. Had a discussion on solar lighting and solar in general, just solar panels, solar lighting. It's a topic that, as a lighting distributor, we've looked at solar in the past and thought maybe it makes sense to get into it, but it's two separate animals really, other than the fixture that has solar capability. So we kind of related everything together, and the benefits that solar lighting can have is not having to run all that additional power to put a light where there needs to be a light, and it's hard to get power to it. So I get it. It makes sense. It's out there, and it's advancing now to the point where it's starting to make more sense than it has in the past in terms of cost and output and all that stuff that you need.
I think where there's an application, it makes sense. I think it's niche market. I mean, all distributors should be aware of it, and they should be aware that there's mid-tier product available, and that the solar business is a different business than lighting, and solar guys know that, and lighting guys know that. They're two different businesses. And when you see a company that's like, we sell solar panels, wind turbines, and LED lights, maybe they don't know anything about anything.
Right. You know a little about nothing.
Yeah.
Then we also went into a discussion on, can you sell a healthy lighting system? You know, and that was a good topic because it's something that, you know, a lot of people are out there claiming they can and they do, and then there's other people that are skeptical on it. And I think the right answer still is be skeptical on it because it's not proven. Nothing is really proven other than it can do good things for certain people. That doesn't mean anything. So, you know, we went around about all the different aspects of it, and it just kind of at the end of it was like, it's not proven, is what I got.
I think Heinrich Clausen said it best when he said, you're talking about the difference between drinking a cup of coffee or not at the best case scenario.
Yeah, I think that was a good analogy for sure.
You know, it's like these guys are not for the visiting team kind of guys. It's like,
right?
No, dude. No.
Yep, I'm with you. And then we finalized the conversations that we had, or the panel discussions, with UVC lighting. Everybody's talking about that. Everybody's getting fired up about it. Our lighting distributors, our electrical distributors, are the right people to sell this thing. You know, and at the end of it, it kind of determines that why not us? Is what I took out of it. Is, you know, make sure you're doing it right, or make sure you have the backing before you're going to dive into it, or that you can do it safely. And if you have the capability of doing it safely, of implementing it, deploying it safely, then by all means get involved in it. If not, and you're just looking for a quick buck and you're not going to be able to back what.
Okay, I'm looking for a quick buck.
Obviously, everybody is, but
I got my hand up. I'm looking for a quick buck.
But
here's my but. I'm not telling anybody how to deploy UVC lighting. And I don't think distributors should do that. You should not. Now, are there some guys like Bernie Erickson from FSG, and he was on the panel? Look, they have more resources than I do. Okay, so they have bigger customers that maybe need that value-added service from the manufacturer and then the distribution chain in that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's anything wrong with offering things for sale, bud. You know, people sell things every day.
Right.
You know, you want to push around cart that's got UVC lights on it? Ta-da! Here it is.
Oh, you want this?
Yeah.
You want that?
By the letter I. I mean,
that's it.
I mean, but I'm not going to get into this, you know, well, I'll let it ride for now. I don't know what I'm going to get into. I'm not making any promises on the Light It Online video show, and I do want to make a quick buck. But UVC makes me a little bit nervous, actually.
Yeah. So there you have it. Those were the 5 topics we had, and had a good discussion.
Thanks for listening, folks. You need a good lighting supplier, LED? You need a good one?
You got one? You got one?
You gotta go to KEYSTONETECH.com, baby. That's KeystoneTech.com. They're not hiding in anybody's pockets. They're up there in Pennsylvania. That's right. The Keystone State hosts Keystone Technologies. Go to KEYSTONETECH.com.